All right, let's get into the Eagles now. And we'll start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, who was the GOAT of the game? 54% of you said it was Nolan Smith. Had a couple votes for Saquon, couple votes for Reed Blankenship, but it was all about Nolan Smith as he just balled out against the Packers on Sunday. Some quick last little things as I was able to watch some highlights and rewatch some of the game. Unfortunately, Nakobe Dean is out for the season with a torn patella tendon, and it's a shame because he had played so well for the Eagles. He was their defensive play caller, so that it's definitely going to be a huge loss. They're going to rely on Oren Burke and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. likely to kind of fill that role. Probably Zach Bond will be the defensive play caller. But a big loss for the Eagles there as Burke and Trotter just they're not starters. I mean, and I heard a couple people say this on the radio yesterday. They're reserves for a reason. They can come in and give you some time, but extend it in long term, they're not going to be as good as Nakobe Dean. So it's a huge loss for the defense, but hopefully they can step up. This team has had the next man up mentality all year, pretty much all through the Nick Sirianni tenure. So hopefully that will be the case here. But that game, looking back at it, very, very physical. And on some of this stuff you don't see sitting up in the stands, but the physicality in this game was just off the charts. And it started right from the very beginning. That hit on that opening kickoff was just outstanding. Goddard's stiff arm, that was a grown man stiff arm. Watch the replay, and from the stands, you saw the one stiff arm, but it looked more like broken tackles. But man, he hit him 3 times, and he was just not going to be denied into the end zone. Just outstanding, and like I said, physical, and that's something they pride themselves on. This team is being the most physical team, so they're certainly going to need that this week against the Rams. Another interesting thing is everybody was talking about Jalen struggling and how he was rusty and this and that. I saw a couple different people post this, and as I was watching some of the game highlights and everything on my own, I don't know if it was Jalen not being sharp as much as the Packers didn't. They did a good job blanketing our receivers. There were not a ton of receivers open. And the A.J. Brown thing with the knee, I don't know if that's something to be a cause for concern going forward, but there wasn't a lot of folks that were open. And we'll see what happens with that, but that was my takeaway. I mean, sure, there could have been times where Jalen maybe missed somebody, but usually sitting up in the stands, you're able to see like, okay, this guy has this guy beat deep, and you can kind of see the plays developing. And as I'm thinking back then and confirmed it on the replays, not a lot of guys were getting very open. So I don't know. I think you got to credit, it's the playoffs. You got to credit the Packers for having a good game plan for the Eagles receivers. But overall, it was a business-like win. It was almost like they came in there, they knew what the job was. They did the job. They won. They move on. I do expect a better offensive output this week against the Rams, who beat the Vikings. I fell asleep, but at halftime they were up big. But going to be a tough test. The early line, the Eagles are 6-point favorites. The over-under is 43.5. And the Eagles, I'll be honest, a lot of people are like, don't be nervous about this game. I'm kind of nervous about this game because of the fact the Rams do have the pedigree. They know how to win. They have won a championship. Matthew Stafford is a solid quarterback. I almost would have rather Sam Darnold come in and Sam Darnold the place up. I still think the Eagles can win this game. We'll have more on the Eagles-Rams playoff history. They're 1-2 all time, but all of these games have been fairly close throughout the history of the Eagles and Rams, 2 of the OG teams from the NFL. But we'll have more as I woke up to the news, so I'm not necessarily prepared to go into a breakdown yet. But Eagles-Rams, Sunday at 3 at the Link. Eagles open up as 6-point favorites for that game. But that does lead me to today's question of the day. First reaction. What is your confidence level of this game on Sunday? And we're just going to go simple. High, medium, or low. 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Currently, right now, just waking up today to find out that news. I'm at more of a medium. I'm cautiously optimistic. I haven't really had time to really look at the replays of yesterday's game to see totally how they did it, but I'm about a medium right now. So let me know your confidence level going into this game early in the week. 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. I don't know if you saw this or not, but some scumbag Eagles fan was giving a Packers fan the business, which ordinarily I'm fine with. Like, we were going back and forth with Packers fans on Sunday too, but this dude went way over the line, calling this poor girl names that you shouldn't be calling people, especially when it had nothing to do with anything but the fact she was wearing a Packers jersey. Looks like they caught him. They've called him out from where he worked and everything. So hopefully that company does the right thing, because to me, there's no place for that. I'm all about banter back and forth. We were messing with them. I kept saying, see you later. But you shake their hands on the way out. Like, there's no need and there's no call for that. And I'm glad that Eagles Twitter was able to track this dude down because it's just a scumbag. And I fight all the time about the poor reception and poor look for Eagles fans, and we're not all like that, and it's exhausting. And then every now and then you have one scumbag who's going to ruin it, and that's all anybody's going to see. Nobody's going to talk about the fact that we were having some fun back and forth on Sunday with some of the Packers fans. And it's just unnecessary and uncalled for, and I hope this dude gets what's coming to him, because it's just, there's no place for that. It's just ridiculous. So I'm glad they found him. I hope he gets what's coming to him. And then the other big story was A.J. Brown reading on the sideline, reading Inner Excellent. And you could tell that this book was worn. He said it's not that big of a deal. He reads it all the time. And listen, it wasn't a good look, but he came out in front of it and said, I do it all the time. All the players know about it. And listen, if this is what he needs during a game to keep his head right and keep him in the game and motivated, I could care less. Like, it really, really doesn't matter. Read. And you could see from the book he had parts highlighted so he knows what he's going to. I don't have a problem with it. It could have been a bigger story, but hey, if that's what he takes, and shout out to Eagles fans who it's now the #1 selling book on Amazon, Inner Excellence. I might have to check it out myself. Might be some good ideas for a Tuesday motivation positivity. But I just thought that was an interesting story. And then the Cowboys. Jerry Jones did not fire Mike McCarthy. He just didn't renew his contract. So the Cowboys are looking for a coach, and obviously Kellen Moore's name is going to come up as that's where he got his start. So it's something worth monitoring. Troy Aikman even said that last night. He mentioned Kellen Moore would be a good choice. So we'll see what it is. But to have Troy Aikman, who is one of the all-time great Cowboys and probably Mr. Cowboy, basically flat out said, I don't know if this is one of the most desirable jobs in the NFL. They're a mess. So I don't think it matters who they bring in. That team's a mess. But I thought that was interesting. He didn't necessarily fire him. He just didn't renew his contract. It's all about the semantics with Jerry.